So, David, just give me your official title. It's David Cadman.
David Cadman, yes.
And tell me what you do.
Well, I'm a writer, a Quaker writer, and I used to be a sort of an economist, but I stopped doing that.
Couldn't count it anymore, huh? Tell me, it's been 5 years since you and I last.
Yes.
You okay? David, it's been 5 years since you and I last spoke.
Yes.
What has changed with the Spirit of Humanity forums as we've gone through time?
Well, in 2012 we were just beginning, and we really weren't at all sure that we had the capacity to do what we wanted to do. And we promised to come back again in 2014, and we did do that. And that event was an extraordinary event. It was utterly chaotic, really. But it was inspirational at the same time. And people who went away from it caught something of the spirit of what we were trying to do, the notion of insisting on talking about love and compassion, which we were told we shouldn't mention the word love, but we said we would. And we did, and it was very, very successful. But it was quite chaotic, and this time we felt we needed a little more structure. So this time round there is a little more delivery by people of their stories in a rather more structured way. And I think that's a kind of maturing in a funny kind of way. I think the organization has matured, and who knows where it goes next.
What do you think we're achieving by coming here? The gathering.
Well, I think it's important that people gather, even if they only gather amongst themselves, that there is a certain energy that's created, and that energy is a good thing. But what will happen from this is that there are 200 people here. They will be affirmed in what they're doing, they will be inspired in what they will be doing, and they will be connecting with people in what they were doing. They will then go out into the world, all around the world. There are people here from all around the world, and then they will engage in a different way, a refreshed way that we have somehow enabled happen. And we won't know what the outcomes are. We don't know what the outcomes were, but they will be substantial.
But 200 people, that's not a lot of people when you think of a world of 7.2 billion.
No. But then if you wait until you had 2 million people, you'd never do anything, would you?
No.
So,
that's true.
and I think that one of the great problems of size and largeness is people feel disempowered by it. I think we're moving into an age of a multitude of small gatherings. But if you add them together, they are a multitude. And we're part of that.
Do you feel that the Spirit of Humanity Forum has a real impact?
I think one can only speak from one's own experience about that, and undoubtedly what we find is that the people who come here say that it has had an impact on them and has changed the way in which they then go back and do what they do. We can't monitor that, nor do we try to, but I feel as certain as one can possibly be that that is happening. And it's probably happening in all sorts of ways that we don't know about as the ways we do know about. When we went out to the participants who'd been here before to see if people wanted to come here, we were overwhelmed by people. We had to close the registration because we couldn't take the number of people who wanted to come. And I think that speaks about what we're doing.
Do you think that the Spirit of Humanity forums can be brought to other places around the world? I mean, not just to Reykjavik every 2 years, but on a consistent basis in different places?
In fact, one of the things that we're thinking about, we've got to decide upon it, but we're thinking about, is encouraging small gatherings, city gatherings, all around the world, which will be forum gatherings. So New York, London, Stockholm. And these will be small gatherings which will be based upon the style in which we gather and some of the content in which we gather, but they will be self-organized. And we can encourage those to happen all around the world.
How about social media? What
Yes.
could we do to spread the word,
Yes.
because everyone's on their smartphones and computers. How do we? Because then you can reach out further.
And I wish we were better at that. And we're beginning to tackle it and trying to find ways of doing it, and we will do it. And that will be one of the ways in which we spread what we're doing. Because I think, as you're right, everybody's picking things up. They're looking at it for short periods of time. They need to get an idea. They need to get it and be able to understand it and appreciate it quite quickly. And that's a real skill. And we need to find ways of doing that.